Let's go back to the year before, because you guys have a great season in the 14-15 season. You lose in the second round. You're hosting the region. You lose in the second round, a close game to Northwest Missouri State. How much did that loss linger with you throughout the summer?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think it set the stage. You and I have had this talk before, but, we were up, 5 with like 4 minutes to go. They had a really good team, same team they had the next year. And we just, for whatever reason, we got stuck at like 55. I can't even remember, but we didn't score for like 3 straight minutes. And they didn't either. We could have extended the score to 15 and we would have been fine playing Moorhead in the championship, and we'd already beaten them twice previously. 3 might have been hard. They had a great team. And so we got beat. Never should have lost that game. Terrible loss. And, I remember we were shaking hands, and it was really – and I even shaking Coach McCullum's hand. It was almost like he was like, wow. He goes, we probably didn't deserve this win either. It was just a really tough loss. So I sent them all in the locker room. And I waited about a minute, and we turned the lights off and sat them all in their chairs in the Pentagon. And we turned all the lights off. I walked in. I said, guys, remember exactly how you feel right now, because you do not 1 year from now ever have to feel this way. But this summer that's coming up, this postseason, I'm calling it a preseason already for next year. This is how hard we have to work to make sure we never feel this way again. And our players have brought that up several times, that they sat in the pure dark in the Pentagon locker room feeling like crud, knowing they lost a game they never should have lost. And that kind of motivated them, I think, for the rest of that time period to the next year to make sure we just didn't let that happen again.
The very first practice for the 15-16 season, very first time you're in the gym all together, what is the message to your guys?
We're going to win national championship. And it was easy to say because they really felt that we should. And we had all the we're preseason ranked number 1. Our guys worked so hard in the summer. Our rules don't allow us to have workouts with our players during the summer. Of all years, we sure didn't even need to. I don't think we could have worked them out as hard as they individually worked that summer. And, a lot of that had to do with juniors and seniors. We became old, obviously, Casey, Dan, and Al were seniors. Jordan was a sophomore, but he was a really good one with a lot of minutes, and Adam Byer obviously was a junior. So we had older players, and that made a huge difference for us in terms of, just a focus. They were really focused. They never weren't. We'd have moments here and there. We had a couple games where we maybe lost our, especially the Washburn game. But overall, that team was really ready to compete for a national championship. And that edge and that confidence is something that you can't do as a coach. You can't really instill that in them. That's all them, and that was the kind of group we had.
The first half of the season is very interesting. You have the exhibition win at Iowa, and then you follow that up, as you kind of mentioned, the first loss of the season out in Vegas in kind of a weird gym environment against Washburn. Then you come home, you beat Northwest Missouri State in the regular season on a buzzer beater from Dan, and then you go on this incredible winning streak. I believe you won 19 in a row, and 17 of those 19 you won by more than 10 points. What was clicking so well, especially in that first half of the season?
That was a unique team. We only played 7-8 guys, but to have, the guys we had coming off the bench, to have a Zach Huskin who would start for any other Division II team in the country coming off your bench, and to have a John Warren, and then Tanner Odegaard would come off and hit threes and get everybody going, and we just even our guys that didn't get to play as many minutes, Marcus Osmus and Steven Schaefer. I mean, I know I'm leaving people out, but they made practice so competitive, and they enjoyed practice, and they enjoyed being around this team. And so we had great chemistry, though we didn't play a deep bench, and we had really good leadership, and we had really incredible team chemistry. So we play at Northern on Hate Winter night, and they played great, killed us. Casey had like 26 points, 25 boards, whatever, but they beat us the whole game. It was never even close. They really played well, and they beat us. And that whole weekend, I knew we were in trouble because the whole focus was Moorhead. People forget Moorhead was arguably the second best team in the country that year. Northwest Missouri, us, all three of us, any one of the three of us could have won the national championship that year. Moorhead had Sevely. They were really good. And so whoever won that Moorhead game more than likely was going to host the regional. That's how tight it was for who was going to host. It helped us that we'd beat Northwest earlier in the year. That was huge, but it still wasn't guaranteed. So we just kept thinking how my players were all week was just Moorhead. And that was the Saturday game. And I was like, we got a really good Northern State team playing on a night they rarely lose. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. And we just, I don't think we didn't overlook them. It was a great crowd. They beat us. And to come back, get in that bus, drive 3.5 hours to Moorhead, Minnesota after that loss, and come out and beat Moorhead on their home floor in a game of that importance, that might have been the best win we had the entire season. That was a heck of a game. It was a great game by Moorhead. And to come out and win that game, we got on after that and got in the bus, and I told my assistant coaches, I go, this group's pretty special, because that was a heck of a win.
What was the mindset heading into that region championship, knowing, again, it was 1 year after you had lost to them, and you had told them, remember this moment sitting in the dark in the Pentagon locker rooms? Did it kind of come full circle when you were addressing the team pregame?
Yeah, it was almost like destiny. It was exactly perfect. This may sound dumb because they were so good, but it was awesome to be playing Northwest Missouri that game, for our guys and for us. And trust me, we'd barely beaten them on a last-second shot that season in Sioux Falls. So we knew how good they were, and they played very well in the regional. But our guys, there was very little – you didn't need to mentally get them going or challenge them in any way, shape, or form. I think I could have missed that game, and our guys were going to play just fine and be perfect. I don't think they needed anybody but themselves to go out and do what they did that afternoon, because they were focused, they were laser focused, and they were ready to go.
Spencer, it's the 2 free throws at the end. And then I want to get your thoughts on Casey, because they throw the pass out and Casey catches it, and then he throws it in the air. And I talked with him recently, and he says you like to joke on how they could have caught it and made a 3 at the buzzer, but he assures me there was plenty of time elapsing after he threw the ball up. What's your take?
I just love Casey, so I like to mess with him anytime I possibly can. So, you forget how hard that foul was on Jordan Spencer. Jordan got really, really taken out hard. Clean, not dirty at all, but that's a hard foul. And for him to get up and make both those free throws, those were huge. At the end, yeah, we made we didn't guard the inbounder, I don't believe, and we doubled Pitts, and they tried to make a pass, and their kid kind of fell. I don't remember all of it. I'll have to watch it too. But Casey, I know, comes up with it somehow and throws that thing up in the air, and the clock is still going. And I'm, maybe a step early, but it would have been a heck of a catch and a throw in. So once Casey had it, we felt pretty good. But that was a great game. That might have been the national championship game right there. Who knows? Those were 2 pretty good teams playing that night.
You win the region. You get to Frisco in the Elite Eight, and then tell me what happens in that practice with Dan.
Well, we do the same thing. I'm very routine-oriented, and whether it be tournament time or anything, we never change what we do. So we're in Frisco, and we're having our normal practice that we would have that day. And we're going through everything, going through our routine, and at the end, we always scrimmage just to 8 points. That's it. 3s are 3s, 2s are 2s. We just play to 8 points, and I'll never forget, he came down funny on it, and we were like, that didn't look quite right. And he kind of came out of it, took a step or two, and then he came up lame. It was almost like watching, Secretariat or a racehorse come up after a race. You're kind of like going, it's like Seabiscuit, you're going, oh, crap, And so Dan's a tough kid and what have you. He's very tough, but he did not even play that first game. So we had to go into the Elite Eight first round against a really good Tarleton State team who had been in the Elite Eight the year before. They're 2.5 hours away, brought a great crowd, and they had all their players back. They were really good. That was as good of a 7th seed that you were ever going to play in an Elite Eight tournament. I thought that was a tough draw for us when we got him, and I knew that I thought it'd be a hard game with Dan playing. I had never dreamt that Dan wouldn't be playing. We didn't know Dan wouldn't play until about tip-off. He tried to go in walkthrough. We were trying to get him, but in the end, he just absolutely couldn't do it. And trust me, it must have really been hurt, because there's nobody that would rather have been out there.
When you were able to win that game against Tarleton without Dan, what did that say to you just about the resiliency and overcoming obstacles in that moment?
Well, first of all, Zach Houston finds out he's starting like 5 minutes before we go out for the national anthem. So Zach has 13 and 8, I believe, and guards everybody. And then I guess the unselfishness on this team Casey's Casey. I mean, Casey's going to go to war. There, it don't matter. He's going to end up getting you double every game he plays. He's going to be the best defender out there, and he's just going to go. But you saw a side of Al Richter that Al's always had. Al could have played for anybody else in our conference and averaged 25 a game. He's that good. But he knew his role, and Al knew we had to do something different. Somebody had to step up, and he felt that, and he knew it was his time. And he had about as good an Elite Eight as probably anyone's ever had, very deserving of being the MVP. So when Al comes out and just doesn't miss, and Casey's being Casey, to get that out of Zach, and Adam and Jordan are just the most consistent, 1-2 guards you're ever going to find. Boy, I'll tell you what, we kind of dodged a bullet on that one. I think we could have won it once. If we had to keep going without Dan, that could have been hard. You can always play one game really good and everybody ups it. To play more, I think, is tough to do. So when we were able to get Dan back for the Western Oregon game just mentally, I think that really helped us. But, boy, to have a backup post like Zach Huskin, I mean, there's nobody in the country at our level that has. I don't know. There aren't too many of the mid-major on down D1s that have a backup like him coming off the bench when you lose your starter.
And then you mentioned Western Oregon. Dan doesn't start, but he comes off the bench. And you and I have joked about this. He had his Willis Reed moment because he comes in off the bench. He hits his first 3 shots. And what I had forgotten, I had to rewatch it. I didn't realize you guys were down, or I'd forgotten you guys were down early in that game, like 10-2 or something. But Dan comes in, hits those 3 shots, and it seems like that gave you guys the energy boost that you needed. And then you blew out Western Oregon from there.
We're the only 2 that know Willis Reed, all right, especially of our players that are watching. I mean, you and I, Dick Barnett and Walt Frazier and Dave DeBuscher and Jerry Luke. You and I know that. Very few people can name the New York Knicks of the Willis Reed era. But that was his Willis Reed moment, because when he knocked those down and brought the energy, because up to that point was about as bad as we had played in 2 years. Take nothing off of Jim Shaw's Western Oregon team. But we did not play well. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty, as strong and mentally as this team was, is Dan going to play or not? Is he starting or not? Western Oregon was really highly rated. They had a heck of a season, and they were big and strong. They had a huge center, and he was a football player too, and he was an All-American. He was really good. So, geez, it was just something to come in there and not have Dan start. But then when he hit those threes, we just took it to another level. And at one point, I don't remember the final, but we were up like 25 or something in the second half. Our guys really played hard, played well against a really good Western Oregon team. But there's no doubt that the few minutes that Dan played, he didn't play in the second half. We didn't have to play him, thank goodness, because to have that next day off and another day for his foot to kind of recover and even get that much stronger. I know it was still a break, but I still think having that extra time, rehab, our trainer, Jason Rennie, Dr. Kimber, Dr. Boyens, I can't remember if Dr. Neely probably was. I mean, those guys all came down and helped us. I believe, Dr. Neely was there. All these guys got down there from Stanford and just did a phenomenal job of getting that guy's foot ready to go, for what ended up being a national championship game.
And then take us to that national championship. You're playing Lincoln Memorial. It's the first time since, I believe, the mid-'70s that the 1 and 2 ranked teams actually play each other in the championship. They had only lost, I believe, 1 time all year. You guys had only lost twice. It was a powerhouse matchup, but it's for the national championship. What's the message? What's going through your mind as you get ready for the ultimate final game of the season?
Tell you what's funny. We thought they were really good. They had a couple D1 transfer guards. They were really athletic. And one of my assistant coaches, it might have been Peter Crawford. I can't remember for sure. Could have been Coach Hederman, coach out there. But one of my assistants was in the lobby. And they might not have known who he was. And he was just kind of walking by their staff. They were kind of huddled. We all stayed in the same hotel in Frisco. And it was we're sitting there going, man, they're as athletic a team as we played. How are we going to do this or do that? Just how you are. You always are that way. He heard them say, man, we can't guard them. They're so big and strong. What are we going to do? So it was so funny to have him come back and say, Coach, they're really worried about guarding us. You kind of went, I guess maybe we are going to be okay against these guys. Maybe they aren't quite going to match up quite with us in our size as we thought they were going to. So, I think both teams with no experience of playing a common team or anything like that, hardly at all, really knew very little about each other.
What do you remember just about the game itself? Because it was obviously a close game. You guys end up winning by 9. But it seemed like almost the entire time neither team could pull away. It seemed like you guys had basically like a 5 to 8 point lead for about 30 of those 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was they're a really good team. For a championship game to be 90 to 81 or whatever it was, something like that, 90 to 81. A lot of times it's 73 to 68, or those were two really pretty high-powered offensive teams. I thought they both came out and played. They did what we do. There were some key moments. Casey was like, what did Casey have? 20 and 19 or something. Dan had 25 and Al had 26, and then you had Adam and Jordan just being the two they are, and unselfish as heck, getting the ball to the right people, guarding the heck out of people, facilitating everything. I mean, we just really played a good game, and so did they. But there was a key moment. It was a 5-point game, and we had never seen them. And with Synergy, you get a pretty good idea. This is a computerized software system that we have on every team. They had not played any zone that we're aware of that was a 1-3-1. And they go to, after a timeout, to a 1-3-1 zone. We're up 5 with maybe 5-6 minutes left. And our guys immediately go to what we run. We only run one thing against a 1-3-1. I'll never forget, Dan called it out. Our guys sprint to the spots. We make 3 passes. Al buries a 3 from the corner. And if you look at their bench, they just hang their heads and throw their hands up because they're like, we can't. What can we do? Because we were on a little bit of a run there. That game went from 5 to 8 instead of possibly down to 3 or 2. It's a different game. But I always thought the key play was when Al hit that 3, and then when Adam Beyer on the baseline out of bounds with very little time hits the fadeaway baseline fall-away jumper. Those were two just kind of, for lack of a better word, those were just 2 key plays, in my opinion, that kind of were like, you know what, this is our day. This might happen.
The buzzer sounds, the confetti falls, you get to cut the nets, you get to enjoy all the post-game festivities. In the moment, how did you feel? And then after you've had time to decompress, how did you feel?
Really, nothing really. I mean, this will sound silly, but when it was all said and done, I felt some relief, probably. I was so happy for my guys, especially the seniors. I was just so, tickled for them. But I remember we just walked over. The game was at one site, and you walked across the street into the hotel that we stayed right across the street. It was a beautiful day. I remember walking over there with Casey, Dan, and Al. We were just talking like we had just played an NSIC team. It was like, I've never been with a more down-to-earth, calm group. We all, I think Casey was carrying the trophy. And we just walked over and we were just kind of talking about the team and, how about that? It was really just a cool thing because everybody was just almost sort of like, kind of what we set out to do, met our goal, kind of expected to. And we did what we were supposed to do. You're supposed to win that game, and so I felt like they just very humbly handled it. And I think our whole group did, I think our university did, I never really felt like we really wore that on our sleeve or try, we had a special group. They played hard and we did what we were supposed to do, which is what we did. And I'll never forget walking over to that press conference, like, we could have had our bowling balls and bags with us and we were going to go roll 3 lines. I mean, really and truly, it felt like we were just nothing.
Last question I'll ask. Is there either a funny story or an ultimate memory from that entire season that carries with you to this day?
We were down, 8 or 10 against Tarleton in the first half. Even the second half, we were down a lot. I looked up, and there was like 2,000 Augie people there, and it's spring break, and their students' baseball team, all these people. And I looked up there, and I told my assistant, I go, CA, God, I've ruined every one of these people's spring break. All these people have spent all this money to be here, and we're going to lose this game, and I have absolutely ruined their spring break plans. And then I just got my head down. I go, we're going to win this game. And so we ended up getting a chance to come back and win it. But we were down almost double figures. And I was just like, crud, this is not going to go well if we don't win this game for all these people that spent a lot of money to be here.
Well, ultimately, obviously, you did win that game. You did win the national championship. Thanks for taking a trip down memory lane. It was a blast, and it's fun to recollect as we approach 5 years since that title.
I appreciate you, Dave. You guys care so much about it. You personally have taken such an interest in the NSIC Division II athletics, and appreciate Midco for this opportunity for softball and baseball and basketball to 5 years goes fast. I can't believe it's coming up on 5 years, and to see the success of every single person involved with that team. That's the most fun thing, is just to see where they've gone on with the lives, the children they're having, the wives they've married. It's a special group, and it always will be.